I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Tonight, my guest is Ariel Faith. Many of us know the joy of photographing nature and learning to see the way light reveals what's already there. That's exactly where Ariel Faith's journey began. After years behind the lens in the natural world, she discovered those same skills, seeing beauty, telling stories, and recognizing what makes something unique could help women entrepreneurs build authentic, confident brands. In tonight's presentation, Do You See It? VQ for Creatives and Photographers. Ariel explores how photography has enriched her life far beyond the images she creates. She invites us to consider how the simple practice of truly seeing shapes our photographs, the people around us, and even the way we see ourselves. If you're on Instagram, you can find her at AF_glory_photography. I'm going to link that in the show notes so that you can find her. But you can also find her through her website, arieljoyfaith.com. With that, Ariel, I want to welcome you to the Happiness Hour.
Well, it is wonderful. I love happiness hours. It's an honor to be here.
Me too.
Before I share my slides,
Yeah.
did you have a question you were going to ask me?
Well, no, I was just gonna say a couple of things. I mean, we said it off the camera, but I'll say it with recording. I haven't run into you in person, but I've run into you through the Out of Chicago conference, and that's been going for this started in COVID. This started in COVID. We actually started um happiness hour before OCC started. And so I had to jump on the Zoom of like, I know how the Zoom works, but they've been going for 6 years. And there's some familiar faces that I've had speakers come in from just meeting them through Out of Chicago. Like Heidi's done one. Heidi, I think you're going to do a second one. You just don't realize it yet. But I've had many, many of our mutual quote unquote OCC friends, Instagram friends. You know, we may not have met in person, but we certainly know each other's work and names. Um, Ariel. So one of the things that Out of Chicago does is it's called the Attendee Takeover. And the conference is just full of amazing speakers, photographers from all over the country, all over the world. There's some international photographers that come in, but on one evening they do this attendee takeover, and it varies on the number of people they have, but let's say there's 10 of them and they get 7 minutes. Is that what you guys get? I think it's 7 minutes. It's very short and it goes
Yeah.
really fast. That's how I found Heidi. She did one, and I before she even got off the thing, I'd already sent her a note like, I don't know, I know you don't know me, but I would love for you to come talk to the group. And you were somebody that I've been kind of watching, and I thought I really want to ask Ariel to come. And so that's how you got here. And I want to thank you for giving us your Wednesday night. I did a little bit of an intro for you. If there's something I missed, feel free to fill in the blanks. But other than that, the screen is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys all for having me come visit you. I'm taking a subject that I normally talk about in rooms of women business owners, and I'm now going to switch it. I'm going to switch it towards something that this is a quality we have as photographers, that when we don't know we have it, we don't have a word for it, we may not value it as much as it is, as valuable as it is. So I'm going to first show you a real quick slideshow to help you see what I'm saying. Because as visuals, as artists, we see. And that's kind of the whole point of this discussion. So I'm going to go to share my screen. And this is going to be much more of a conversation than a series of here's all my work and you love it and I love it and we all love it. This is actually specific art to tell you a specific story. Um, so hopefully it's on there now.
It is. You're good.
Okay, so do you see it? As photographers, we create and we develop a very strong skill, and that is called visual intelligence. We don't necessarily use that word, but artists develop very strong visual intelligence. Now, visual intelligence is very interesting. And for us, I'm going to go through some of that intelligence that we do automatically real quickly. And then I'm going to talk about how we can turn that into building our business, making it stronger. How do we see each other and other people? How do we value others by that? How does everything in our life, how can it become more exciting because of it? I know in out of Chicago, somebody used the expression, awe shimmers or glimmers and fairy dust, which I thought was a really cool title. I don't know if you remember that, Linda, but one of the attendees takeovers. And that's really what it, in a cute way, I'm trying to get people to really see. As photographers, we see sometimes very analytical. If you put your prints in competition, they're looked at very technical. But I want you to see the awe and the wonder and the beauty in the earth, and then transform that into people. How you have relationships with people. It's really quite fascinating. So the first thing we talk about is light. And we all know that light reveals hidden things. It reveals structure. It reveals character. It reveals things that we don't normally see when we know how to look for light. If you are thinking about light in terms of people, you think about I don't know how many people, does anybody here shoot people? If you can
Put that in chat. Yeah.
anybody.
Um,
Coming from the nature world, which is pretty much what I'm showing you here, and then I shifted towards people. And this is one of the reasons why this whole experience. But the quality of light, being able to adapt to it, you learn when you're doing nature photography, because you don't have a studio, you don't have light setups, you work with what is. You adjust, you change your position to work with the light that God has presented to you or is being presented to you. So that's the first layer of visual intelligence, is being able to understand light and how it helps us see what's hidden. And then we have curves. There are so many amazing curves in nature, and they tell us stories. If you think about the curves on someone's face, how many stories are in those lines? What is behind that person? It gets us to look deeper, just like we do when we're out shooting nature or birds, or we're looking for more, right? We're looking for more than the average person sees, and we want to share that. So elegance teaches us about composition, in terms of a photography world. Nature is the original designer, and it's just incredible what we can learn about this visual intelligence. And simplicity is often another thing, that there's an elegance and a luxury to simple that exists in nature and exists when we look for it in our photography, when we have as an example, this particular image it is something, but it's not obviously crisp and sharp, but there's emotion connected to it. And everyone will react slightly different based on where they're coming from in life as to what emotions that may bring. It might be confusion, because they're like, what is it? Some might immediately recognize that it's from Florida and it's a palm frond and it's playing in the wind. So somebody might get whimsical or might feel a sense of joy because of it. You just never know. So these pieces of the work we do help us develop this eye of visual intelligence. Another component is the the infinite details. The more you look small, the more amazing the world becomes. Same thing when you go the other direction. The more you look out into the universe. I have friends that do the deep sky photography. Oh my goodness gracious, that's just amazing. It's just the more we look, the more excited we can become about life, not just about our art, our business, our photography, but just about everything. Um, and then we have colors, of course, because we know colors are just amazing, but so is black and white. But it speaks things before words do. And that's kind of a key to what I do. I help people understand that the visual intelligence is not just understanding the concept of photography, which is a lot of what we're talking about in this slideshow, but it's also how we present ourselves in our own brand as photographers if we're looking for work. How do we market ourselves? How do we, what colors do we use? All of those visual elements are very important and they speak. An image speaks louder than 1,000 words or whatever that expression is. This really helps us really think about this a little deeper because colors have meaning, they have feeling, they have emotion, and they talk to us. And then, of course, nature has a way of creating patterns and breaking patterns. So there might be a normal that exists in nature, but then every once in a while we find those that are a little bit quirky. They're a little bit off. But can we see the beauty in that quirk? Can we see the beauty in that uniqueness, in that variation? And then sometimes life, oops, I went too far. People have a little bit of rough edges, right? There might be a reason for that rough edge. Like in this case, that rough edge, I mean, if you look at that leaf, I wouldn't want to walk on it, but it protects the flower. So there's a reason for the pieces of the design. It's not just random. So when we get to really think about the visual elements that are presented to us through a lens and how we look at them through multiple perspectives, lens choice, all that, aperture choice, all those things, we really can show so much more to our audience, to the people that we work with, without working hard, because this is what we do. And then sometimes seeing more is by seeing less. So using the techniques, this just happens to be a reflection. So there actually is no ICM in this. It's actually a sharp picture, but it's a reflection. So sometimes the reflection of things can almost be more amazing than the whole picture of a lake. There might be images inside of images inside of images, just dancing there, waiting for us to see them. And then we have the layers and dimensions. So when we use layers, people are layered. They may have certain layers and dimensions where we've all done this. We walk into an office and we have a certain us that we bring to the office. Then we walk home and we bring a certain us. It's still us, but we have different layers of the us. So in photography, those layers help us really understand the situation and have more compassion with the environment and understanding how the people in our lives are affected by other things. Just like in an image, you can create a lot of distraction by the background, or you can create more harmony or isolate by letting one thing sing. So, beauty, as we all know, because we're all photographers, is it exists everywhere, but we just have to look. One of the problems that we have in our industry, and I hear this a lot, is through competitions, we all agree that, I don't know if you do, but I agree that on some level, they're very good. It's always good to learn to see more and see better. So competitions is a way to do that. It helps you see some line you didn't see before on the edge, or some hot spot that you didn't identify before. So it helps you kind of develop that vision. But when you're looking for perfect, they want everything sharp. They want everything, whatever that judge is looking for, they're missing the beauty of the event. They're looking for something that it really it lets us be less creative. Because when we allow ourselves to be visually intelligent and just work with all of that training that we've done and let that pour out, then we can really just feel the moment and take the photograph and react to the beauty that's been put in front of us. And then understanding that perfection is not really where it's at. Often the imperfect is what attracts our attention way more than perfection. And we know that the more AI becomes a thing, which we all have dealt with, I have said for 3 years that the more that became popular, the more real would become needed. And I believe the last year there's been studies on that. So our jobs are actually becoming more valuable, not less valuable, as photographers, because we're not capturing fake things. We're not presenting a fake world to the universe. We're sharing real, imperfect beauty that exists. And then, of course, we've always got form, shapes, and how they can play off each other. That's just another element. And then you have the being present. We know a lot of times we're just at the right moment, especially with bird photography. You're just in the right spot at the right time. The sun just hit perfect. The bird's standing in the right spot in the water. That's just allowing yourself to be there and giving yourself the opportunity. If you don't go to those places to take those shots, you miss something, right? And then seeing the connections and seeing how there's so many connections inside of nature. And then realizing that visual intelligence is much more than just going on these excursions, going on these trips, and taking photographs. It's way more about being with other people who love the same thing, that value the same thing, that get super excited when they see a small little bizarre flower. How many you tell that to your spouse or your mother and they're like, yeah, what? We've had that reaction. But when you put yourself in the room with a bunch of people who are visually working to see better, to see more clearly, you really do enhance and enrich your world. Now, I'm going to stop this share because I want to dig a little deeper into just what visual intelligence is. Just by in the chat, just a show of hands, when I have the slideshow, I can never see what people are typing. How many of you have heard of the words visual intelligence? We know there's intelligence, right? Intellectual IQ. And most of us know about EQ. Has anybody ever heard about VQ?
Not until tonight.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's exciting. Well, actually, it's been around for a really long time. And it's a skill that the FBI actually uses and trains its agents in. Because when an investigator walks in a room and they're paying attention to all the detail in that room, every detail could impact the case, right? So that is training your eye to see, training your eye to be intelligent, noticing when there's something out of place. And we do that all the time. We pick the frame on purpose. So that's a part of our art that we work with, or that we work on. And art historians have built entire careers researching it. So this has been around for a really long time. It's just not something that we really talk about, but I think it's worth talking about it because it's more than photography. It's sometimes people say, well, that person just has an eye, right? They just have a creative eye, but it's a learnable skill. And that's the part that I think is beautiful, is anyone can develop this skill. Anyone can learn to deepen the way they see. Taking the elements of photography, which we all have, learning to see deeper, even in each one of those areas. Why is composition important? Why does it matter? Not just that it matters. The more we understand those deeper level truths, because they are like fundamental truths. They're not necessarily beliefs. They're more of a fundamental piece of wisdom. The more we understand the why behind all those things, then we can bring that into all aspects of life. So there's 3 different things that I wanted to at least bring up. And I wanted to tell you a brief story about, I was in the studio because now I work with people and nature, but I had a professional model and I was working with her. Now, professional models know exactly how to stand, how to be, how to turn their face. I mean, they're not hard to work with when you're treating them nice. But there was something missing. I kept working with her and I was trying to get her to warm up, and every picture was perfect. Every pose was perfect. Every finger was in the right spot. But I had seen her earlier in the day at lunch, and she was laughing and she was alive, and she had this energy to her presence that did not exist in any of these photographs where she's posing. So because of that, I was like, okay, something's missing. So I put my camera down and I decided to talk to her. And I just asked her a quick question. Where is the place in the world that you feel the most at home? And then she starts to tell me a story about Cuba, where she's from, and how her house and her grandmother's, she told me about what it looked like. She told me about the sounds on the street and the food coming through the windows of everybody cooking, and the music coming down the street, and the salsa and the bachata just everywhere. And when she talked, she lit up. She lit up in a way that when she posed, she never did. So a lot of us who work with nature, we shoot static things, but they light up too. When we catch them in the right light, when we give them the right background, when we give them the air to breathe. But when you're working with people, when you allow them to be who they are, there's a huge gift in that. Because not only do they see themselves in the results, they also feel seen. And in our world, we're trying to show people, but how many of us hide behind our own camera? How many of us want to be the face of our brand? I don't know to what extent people are in here that are hobbyists, or just give me a quick in the chat, whether you're a hobbyist or you make a living with photography, or you want to make a living with photography, or you just do it for fun. And all of the answers are okay. There is not one answer that's incorrect. Hobbyist, want to make a living, hobbyist. Well, it's a great hobby. It's very expensive, but it's fun, right? But how can we take the fun of photography and the skills we learn and help those skills let us see people better? When you're sitting in the room with your grandmother or your mother, as an example, and you realize that their facial expressions aren't really theirs, that visual intelligence tells you something's missing. Something's not quite off. The light's not quite right. The environment maybe needs to shift. So our relationships with each other really get enhanced when we use this visual intelligence in our everyday life. When we allow, like, that model, when I allowed her to be herself and to live in that moment, everything about her softened, everything about her changed, and the perfection was gone. That was the interesting part. The posing that she had trained so much for, that was gone. And she wasn't practicing the smile. It was real. And you can't fake real. You can't. I mean, AI is proof you can't fake real. It gets pretty close. It gets kind of scary, but it really is the observation, learning to be, observant, that we can see people in a new way, not just what we photograph. If we take that same intelligence and take it towards the people that we work with, whether it be a legitimate, I shouldn't say that, a job, 9 to 5, whatever that is, versus when you walk into an office and you look at the people around you and you see somebody slightly off, you have a choice. You can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to leave them alone because they're slightly off. Or you can say, you know what? Maybe I can let them know I see them in their imperfection, in their moment of not putting on the mask or putting on the AI. They get to be who they are. So when we do that with the people around us, we're giving them a gift that is immensely important in today's society. And it's really through the art of photography, the art of artists, Da Vinci, all of these guys. They used this observation, the light and the shadow. I mean, we practice this, we live this, hobby or not. It's what gives us joy. So when we bring that joy back into the rest of our life, we become so rich. Maybe not with money. Maybe we can't quit that 9 to 5 job or whatever it is just yet, but our lives become richer. And I think that is the biggest point of what I try to teach, is that this isn't just about a hobby. Somebody said that they find it relaxing in nature, and 100%, there's a therapeutic component to photography that a lot of us are sitting here because of COVID. If you think about it, COVID did a number on a lot of us, and being in nature was the only way we stayed sane for some of us. And you could go out there and not get, germified. But taking those lessons that we learn when we're out in the field and bringing them back to work. A lot of times, just a quick question, how many people, when they find out you're a photographer or your hobby is photography, want you to go shoot somebody's wedding? They don't really want to see any of your work. Let's be honest. They're like, oh, please don't show me your millions of pictures. How many of you get those kind of reactions from people? Any thoughts? Channeling Vivian Meir.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? I got nobody typing.
Nobody typing.
I just find it interesting because we are so overloaded with imagery in our society. So overloaded. We have so much noise. Of course, we go out to nature because that's where it's silent. That's where the birds sing. My husband. That's where there's something that you can't get anywhere else, and we know it, right? So we try to bring that back to people through our work. Now take that one more step deeper and bring it to them personally. think about their environment, the things that we can't see. Let the light get us to look a little deeper. And then it gives us more compassion, but we also see much more beauty, even in the wrinkles and the old age and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the tulip is the one that for me was such a big lesson. When I shot, I started with flower photography, like a lot of us do, right? Because they're just so beautiful. And then after a while, you get a little bored. Let's be honest. You get a little bored with the same flower. It looks all the same. And you're like, okay, I got to find a different angle and a different light. And so you start kind of playing. And a tulip is a flower that I never wanted to photograph because I thought it was kind of a boring flower. I did think that when you put light on it, it showed the translucence. So that's when it kind of got interesting. And I kind of played with it more. But then I watched them age. And oh my goodness, the way a tulip dances as it ages and you let it age, you let the petals do their thing and fall and dance. I mean, they become the most interesting personalities of a lot of the flowers. So it was in the imperfection, in the aging, it made me look at how do I view other people as they age? Do I see that same wonder? You know, so it made me kind of dig a little deeper into even how I see people. So basically the using your lens and turning your lens. Does anybody in the room do work with people? Or do we stay away from? I used to say, I swore I would never shoot people. So,
I think there were a few people earlier that commented they will shoot portraits if they're asked.
okay.
Joe's in here, and I think he fought really hard to not photograph people, but he's starting to like it and he's starting to get really good at it. So this is more of a bird room, I think, but there are a few people that will. There's one that just popped in that said grandchildren. So yeah.
But everything we learn with birds,
Hmm.
everything we learn with nature gives our eye. A lot of people who do a lot of work in venues and wedding and portrait, that's where they start.
Right.
And they develop a very different eye. But the skills that we bring as nature photographers into the world of people photography is really unique. Once you see that, you see the people who've come out of nature into people, it's amazing. But one of the neat things is when you don't ask a tulip to become comfortable, right? You know, I don't work with children because I don't want to deal with parents, but I work with professionals who are working to brand their marketing, right? That's where I've kind of niched down in the last couple of years. And the reason I do that, especially with women, is because most women over 40 do not want to be in front of a camera.
Here.
I mean, it's really like a root canal for a lot of women. So how do you take something that is really difficult, that's in their industry, say they're a speaker or a coach or whatever, their industry kind of needs them to be face forward. How do you help them enjoy being in front of the camera? And what do you think nature photography, if you could pick one word, what do you think nature photography made it easy for me to do? Easier, I'll put it that way. It's not easy, but anybody got any ideas? It's pretty much the essence of all of it. Visual intelligence teaches us to play because we see. And the more you see, the more you see. It's like it grows. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't get smaller. Just like the more you go into macro and micro photography, the more amazing it becomes. Same with going the other direction. but we've got this beautiful earth full of beautiful people. And the more we take that wonder and that play and we bring it to our camera. So the next time when you go on a photo shoot with some friends, other photographers, because we know the average people don't like us because we dilly dally and linger a little longer than some people might want to. So this is more when you go with photographers because we get it. When you get in that room and you are out in nature, start taking photos of the people you're with. Get them when they're lit up because they just saw something really cool. I've been to a bunch of conferences. In fact, I was kind of an addict for a little while, the Out of Chicago addict. And then I did Colleen Minnick's. I was on a bunch of hers. And it was kind of like, how many can I do in a year for a little while? It was like craziness. But the one thing I realized after probably a year and a half is I was with these amazing people and I had no photographs of them. And I was like, that's kind of bad. I mean, here I am with these incredible people and I'm not bringing them home with me like I'm bringing that flower or that mushroom or that whatever. So I started to actually, when I went on the last few, I take pictures of people now, in addition to everything else. And it really is fun because when you are in your zone as a photographer and you get someone who's taking your photos when you're in the zone, those are the best shots for you as a photographer because you're not faking it. You are in the zone. Your face is alive. And that using that whole letting yourself be real in those moments and sharing that realness, that is what our world needs right now. It needs the beauty, it needs the intelligence, and we all need to be seen and understood. And the more we see, the more we take that skill into our life, the better our lives will be. And that is pretty much it.
That was a lot, actually. Very insightful. I think that your presentation is more of one of those things that for me, I hear it. I don't really always apply it. And now you're going to make me think about it, Ariel. Dang it.
Dang it.
So that's my takeaway. I have a real good friend who comes to these. She's not here tonight, but there's a personal thing going on, and so I gave her an excuse to not be here. But we talk about each of the presentations after like the same night usually, and it's like, what's your takeaway? And I think that's my takeaway from yours tonight. I'm looking real quick to see if anybody's got any questions or any comments. There's some really nice little notes in here. So, Errol, uh, okay, I thought there was something else. Okay, going once, twice, three times. Okay, no questions. I'm gonna thank you for sharing your Wednesday night with us. Kathy, we're on the same page. She says, like, thanks for making me think. Yeah. So that's definitely our takeaway tonight is we're gonna process this. So come back next week when we talk about it, Ariel. Um,
Okay.
and like Kevin says, lots to think about. There
Well,
is.
you can reach out to me if you want to
Uh,
talk to,
uh,
because that's what I'm here for.
so now, are you? I know you're doing your business marketing, branding. Working with people. Are you doing anything specific with this train of thought? Are you teaching classes? Are you mentoring? Is that something you were offering? I wasn't sure.
Yes, I do have. Um,
Well, plug yourself, girl. Come on.
I have. Marketing is a difficult thing for a lot of people,
Sure.
and I know for years I've been in business. I've been self-employed for over 30 years, and most of the time my reputation was all I needed. And then
Mhm.
when I switched to photography, the world changed because I didn't have that 20 years of experience, right? So now it's like, okay, how do I get seen in a very loud world? So I did a lot of research took a lot of bunch of classes, all kinds of stuff on marketing, and everything I looked at and touched drove me nuts. To be honest, it was like the term that fits the most, and I apologize to all the men in the room, but bro marketing, which is very salesy, very I'm the best because, well, that doesn't resonate with who I am as a person. So that kind of marketing is very, I don't even want to do it if I have to do it, right?
Mhm.
So I help people who are more like me. They're more of a service-based, heart-centered. They just want to make the world a better place. And they have knowledge or a skill that helps other people to see better, right?
Mhm.
So I have a couple programs that I take people through. Some of them are all about building personal confidence, because the more you see outside, the more you then look at others, the more you see in the mirror, which is really where it comes back to, is building our confidence even through our own photography. You look at a mushroom, how many lines are in a mushroom? Stop picking, stop disliking your beauty because you have lines on your face. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you pull these concepts together? So I have a few programs with that. I also love to work with photographers if they have a brand, because they get it um, in terms of branding photography. And I'm planning a retreat for 2027, which is more for the businesses, but it's going to be in a great location. And it's like being able to sit with strategy and come up with a year's worth of business strategy, and then curate the images to go with that strategy. So basically you can put your marketing pretty much on autopilot with a few adjustments in between for a year. And the relief that gives business owners. Anybody here a self-employed business person?
I'm trying to remember who's in the room. Oh,
Kind of.
kind of. All right, that counts. So, was
Well,
it
whether
like,
it's, it could be a expertise, it could be a coaching, it could be a service, it could be a product, right? All those things you have when you have a strategy. And what I came across was there's a book I'll recommend if you have any interest in this marketing world. Read the book Story Brand, um, by Don Miller. I liked his first book better than his second. He got a little political during that second version, but so if you can get the first book, I recommend it better. It's a little more um, he hits the point stronger, I think.
okay,
He doesn't get diluted.
okay.
But he really talks about storytelling in marketing, which is exactly what we do in photography. So it takes something we already do, we already love, we already know, and now I can connect it with my business, and then it becomes easy to market. I'm no longer making this is no longer difficult. In fact, it's fun. And that's really that's a really great shift when you take somebody from, oh, and I was there, I hated marketing, to actually I really love it. That's a really interesting shift. And that was one of the books that helped me find a method of marketing that I didn't hate. I actually, and it connected to all these other things: the visual intelligence, the storytelling. Why is this important? The emotions, all of that. So,
Okay.
okay.
Can you repeat the name of that book one more time?
Yes. Let me, it is called Story Brand, but it's more than that. Hold on one second. It is called Building a Brand
All right.
by Don
Well,
Miller.
okay. Thanks for
And
sharing that.
yeah, and that's the first book, but
Okay,
the other
perfect.
one is, I really recommend the first one. It's cheaper
Okay.
too.
Okay. We love that. All right, Ariel, I'm going to shut down your session tonight. I'm going to thank you for sharing your Wednesday night. I mean, life is busy. We're all crazy busy, and you're running a business. So to add this to your end of your business day, I really appreciate you doing this for us. All
No
right.
problem.
All right, next week, Jen Ritchie will be here to present More Than Sharp, Finding Magic in Wildlife Photography. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you again soon.